And for more on the impact and opportunities presented at the meeting, we're joined by William Li. He's Chief Economist at the Milken Institute. Great having you, and thank you for joining us. There's been a lot of talk about multilateralism and development, including Vice Premiers Ding Xuexiang. How do you analyze this conversation in the face of the recent statements by President Trump?
President Trump has tried to make it very clear to global leaders that the United States is fully engaged with international trade, international relations, and welcomes foreign participation in the remarkable recovery that we are having in the United States. And President Trump's message was, it is much better to be a partner with the United States and share in our prosperity than it is to be a competitor. And he says, I'm going to make it so easy for you to come to the United States, invest, create more jobs, and I'll give you lower tax rates, and I'll give you more opportunities to access the large U.S. marketplace. But if you come in as a competitor, I'm going to make it more costly so that you realize how great the United States market is, and you're going to have to pay for it.
And William, as leaders around the world called for free trade, where could China fit in this new multilateralism?
China going to play an absolutely critical role. As the second largest economy in the world, it and the United States, earlier in the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, they tried to create a trade framework for the 21st century. They got pretty far along the way, and unfortunately, those negotiations have stalled. I think China can certainly do the world a lot of good, and China itself a lot of good, by reviving a lot of those discussions to try to develop that 21st century trade framework. And China also has a role in peace. To intermediate in the dispute with Russia and Ukraine, because China plays such an important role in that kind of discussion, and its role would be very, very much of vital importance and would contribute greatly to world peace.
William, one of the points discussed in this meeting, and it seems to be a constant now, right, is artificial intelligence. And China has spoken about governance of artificial intelligence. I'd like to hear your opinion, your analysis on how do you see AI from a global business point of view?
Everyone in every corporate boardroom is talking about how to apply AI to promote productivity, to make its businesses better, to make customer relations better. And China, because AI was one of those areas where 10 years ago, President Xi had the vision of saying, we want China to be at the forefront of new technologies. AI happens to be one of those new technologies, and this was the heart of his Made in China 2025 program. And that means that governance discussions will be very important to include Chinese companies, Chinese authorities, as well as U.S. companies and U.S. authorities and regulators in deciding where the liabilities might come if AI technology were to create liabilities and create harm. Who bears the burden for creating that harm? Is it the user? Is it the manufacturer? Is it the country that sponsored it? These are questions that have to be negotiated and discussed, and China and the United States will play important and very, very critical roles there.
And William, in the face of this cooperation and growing trade, right, China lifted several restrictions on foreign investment, and I'd like to get your analysis on this policy's global impact.
Well, when China lifts its restrictions on investing in China, it's inviting the world to come to China, just as lifting restrictions for money to be invested in the rest of the world would be a signal that China is a full partner in the global economy. And China has to do both. It has to invite more foreign investors into China, allow the foreign investors to do their due diligence and find out where the good investment opportunities are and put money there. Meanwhile, China also has an obligation to allow its domestic investors to diversify their portfolios beyond the property market and to be able to invest in economies like the United States and Europe and elsewhere in Asia in order to diversify portfolio and avoid that horrible thing called home bias that all portfolio managers have been trying to avoid.
William, I'd like to switch gears a bit because something very important that we're not talking enough about is the green energy transition. And as business leaders speak in Davos, right, and exchange ideas and new new orders, new paradigms emerge in global trade. How do you analyze the green energy transition as is in this new context?
Well, China certainly has a very important part to play there. China is at the heart of the new energy technologies, the lithium batteries, solar panels, electric vehicles. And so it really is pushing toward that newer technology that's less polluting. At the same time, China is also the largest user of coal and the largest carbon emitter in the world. And so China has a very important role to play in getting its own domestic house in order. At the same time, the United States has also said that each country is responsible for making sure that its own emissions are within a limit that is going to be beneficial for the world. It's very hard to get a global agreement whereby we have to demand other countries obey strict standards without first governing our own production of carbon. And I think the new green policies that we see going forward is going to be much more domestic focused, where each country will attend to its own needs.
William Li, thank you very much.